now take you to the broadcast of It's Time with Reverend Nathaniel W. Martin. Here's Reverend Martin.
Hotep, Abaragani, good morning. How are you? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, but certainly never good night and never ever goodbye, because I find goodbye so traumatizing. My name is the Reverend Nathaniel W. Martin. I am the pastor of the New Life Institutional Baptist Church here in the city of Los Angeles. And the offering that you are viewing is entitled It's Time. And you always ask when you hear It's Time, what is it time for? Well, it is time for social justice. And that always involves environmental as well as economic. Yes, economic justice. Because when you see the disparity, as Dr. Barber has so eloquently exhibited and presented to the whole nation there in Washington, D.C., as they attempt their project to bring awareness to the plight of the poor in America. It is said that 62 people own more wealth than the other half, 4.6 billion people on the face of the earth. Can you imagine that? 62 people own more wealth, or their wealth surpasses or equal to 4.6 billion people. I'm talking about 4.6 billion people. And these people earned, these 62 people, not the 4.6 billion. These people earn $97,000 per hour, and yet they complain about you attempting to get a measly $15 an hour increase, which doesn't even bring you to parity with the cost of inflation or the cost of living, for that matter. But such is the state of the economy, and such is the state of the rich versus the poor. Yes, it's still the rich versus the poor, us versus them. And so this is more or less a social justice minute in the programming of this station, KTYM Media. And we want to thank Reverend Blackwell for allowing us this platform. All right. Those things being said, I am the pastor of the New Life Institutional Baptist Church right here in the city of Los Angeles. Excuse me. We're located at 8916 South Main Street in the city of Los Angeles, and we have evangelistic service tonight at 7 p.m. and then Sunday morning service at beginning with Sunday school at 10 a.m. and morning worship beginning around 11:15. I said around because it could start before then, but that's another story. But we will be conducting our service at 11:15, and I also must mention that we are being hosted by our sister church, the Shiloh Missionary Christian Church, which is pastored by my good friend, the Reverend Dr. Della F. Hollinas. And we thank God. They always say when the Baptists and the Charismatics get together, there's bound to be a shouting in the camp. And surely we thank God for the fellowship and for the communion. And we invite you to attend and come by and show your face in the place at any and all of our services, and you will be blessed and benefited. Yes, blessed and benefited before you leave or as you leave. All right? Okay, so now we are in a week in which we have had well, first I must make some corrections because I failed to do some things last 2 weeks that I should have already taken care of. As you know, this was the month that celebrated the Watergate break-in, which was the Richard Nixon thing. And the security guard needs to get some celebration and some lauding, because had it not been for Frank Willis, who was the security guard at the Watergate Hotel, then this whole Watergate debacle would have gone, well, the crime rather, would have gone undiscovered. He made his rounds, and he's, as a security guard should do, and when he saw this door open, well, not open, but he saw that there was some tape on the latch of the door so the door wouldn't close, he removed the tape and closed the door and continued on his round. And then when he came back around, Frank Willis, again, then he saw that that tape was back on that door. And so he called the police, and then they went in, and lo and behold, there was a Watergate burglar inside. So we thank God for him. He's dead now. He never got a dime. He was not celebrated like Woodward and Bernstein, and Charles Colson and his ilk, or Mr. Ehrlichman and their ilk. They all made money, but this security guard, Frank Willis, died penniless. Amen. So he's due some recognition for his selfless act of doing his job, and as a result, these burglars were caught, and some of them were at least brought to justice. And of course, they being in the elite hierarchy, they were able to hurt Mr. Frank Willis in his employment. Couldn't get a job nowhere else. You know the story. And so he died penniless, broke, and in poverty. But these guys died rich and pardoned and well-to-do and all those type of things. But we need to recognize Mr. Frank Willis, the security guard at the Watergate Hotel. So may history view him in kinder light going forward than history has viewed him. Remember, history is always written by the victor, and of course, when you are in a settler colonial society experiment called the United States of America, if you don't write your own story, it will not get told like you want it. And so hats off to the family of Mr. Frank Wills. That was his name, Frank Wills, security guard at the Watergate Hotel. Also, I failed to give honor to Mr. Officer Aaron Salter, who actually confronted the gunman in the Buffalo Tops supermarket shooting. And I didn't have his name before me. And now that I do, I want to give him his credit for doing what the law said that the police are supposed to do. In a mass shooting, they are to immediately confront the shooter and minimize or distract or neutralize the threat. And Mr. Aaron Salter, although he only had his pistol with him, yet he confronted the shooter. And of course, the police are taught to shoot body mass, and unfortunately, his bullets would not penetrate this guy's body armor. So the guy had a assault rifle, and he was able to do what? To kill the security guard. Kill the police officer who was moonlighting as a security guard at the Tops Market. He had even retired from the Buffalo Police Department, but unfortunately, as I said, he died a hero. and we don't want to leave his example that he set, as opposed to the example that the Uvalde Police Department set in. Even though they had the body armor and they had the weapon, but they would not open the door and confront the shooter. And so valuable minutes were lost, valuable blood was spilled, people that might have been saved if the police had engaged the shooter within the first 3 minutes, where those people lost their lives, or the chance that their lives could have been saved, because the fact that the police were just cowards. Just no other way to put that. They were cowards. They didn't want to confront it. They wouldn't open the door. And they claimed they were waiting on a key, but the door didn't require a key. All they had to do was open the door. But they would not. And as I have spoke to you on separate occasions about this, Mrs. Morales had called her husband after she had been shot and told him. And her husband was on scene, and he was going to go in, but these other cowards prevented him, because that would make them look what? Bad. They were not confronting him, so they wouldn't let him go in and confront the man in order to attempt to save his wife. And so consequently she bled out and died. And a lot of the others, 19 students, 8 years old to 10 years old, all died. And then the 2 school teachers brought the total to 21. But the law enforcement did not do their job, as opposed to Mr. Aaron Salter. So hats off to Mr. Aaron Salter. He did his job. He was willing to confront the shooter, and to live up to the oath that he took to protect and to serve. And while we're on the subject of the police, let us look at the fact that the officer Timothy Lohman, who shot and killed Tamir Rice in Cleveland, Ohio, some years ago, is still trying to get himself rehired. And he was in another municipality, I think up in Pennsylvania, and he had been hired, and they were going to make him the police chief of this municipality. But our people in the media and on the internet began to bombard that police agency for its hiring, and so they withdrew Mr. Lohman's application, even though he was going to be on the fast track to become chief of police of that municipality. Now, they're claiming they didn't realize who they were hiring, but when you look at the mandates of the George Floyd Policing and Accountability Act, they had to do a background check before they hired anybody. And so they knew who they were hiring, all right. As a matter of fact, one of his greatest supporters is a borough chief of that town. I don't have the name of the town down here, but the guy's name that was behind trying to get off of the Lohman hired is Steve Hazlitt. Now, this same Steve Hazlitt wrote some disparaging remarks about Tamir Rice's killing. He said, and I quote, "Dumb enough to pull a fake gun, dumb enough to get shot." And so his state of mind, in other words, is that Tamir Rice is responsible for his own death. Although the video clearly shows that within 4 seconds of Officer Lohman arriving on the scene where Tamir Rice was holding a toy gun. You know how kids play with guns. And then on top of that, now that I think about it, the state of Ohio is an open carry state. That means you can have openly carry your weapon although him being underage created a problem, but they were not supposed to kill a kid, 13, 14-year-old kid, for having a toy a gun. But of course, Officer Lohman did, and he was not prosecuted. He escaped prosecution, and but he was fired from the Cleveland Police Department. And let me also draw the association that another black boy was killed there in Ohio, and his name was Janelle Walker, and he was shot 60 times running away from the police, and in Akron, Ohio, and but yet they lit him up. They killed him. They shot him up. So many officers were firing that when they finally stopped, it was no hope that he would be alive, and yet they handcuffed his corpse on the ground and left him there for hours. And so the police power so goes the police power there in the state of Ohio in their interactions with black people or black men, or whether you are man or woman, it seems to be of no matter. So you have to take into account that their training is such that they are bent. They feel that they should still have the ability to humble the black person, to riddle the black body with bullets. And while we're talking about riddling the black body with bullets, we need to go and look at Michigan. Farmington, Michigan, which is outside of Detroit, I imagine. And notice that they were specifically ordering for target practice, targets that depicted a black person. Not in silhouette, no, but a photograph of a black person. And that those were the preferred targets for the officers on the shooting range to shoot at. And I've had a pet theory for years that the reason why our people are so likely to get shot by the police is because if the police are training on targets that depict a figure of a black person doing something wrong, then when they go out in the field, who do you think they're going to target? Who are they looking at as being a person that is doing something wrong? I believe it was about a year ago or two that a young black man disarmed a shooter in the target. It was in the target. And this black boy disarmed this shooter. And this black boy was a security guard. But he wasn't in uniform. However, when the police arrived on the scene, which they just so happened to be on that floor, and when they saw this black boy with a gun in his hand, what did they do? They killed him. And then they said, we have neutralized the subject. Then they found out that the person that really did the shooting had got away. And the person they killed was the good guy with the gun. Lord help us. And so all of this psychology ties in to the training that our police still receive. They are subjected to targets, black targets. They are subjected to the racist diatribes that are passed along, the squad room, debates and chatter that the police departments customarily used as jokes and everything of that sort. And so when they see a black person, they stop to shoot. Officer's state of mind. Well, he was black. They don't say that no more, but that's all it is. If you're training on shooting a black target, then who is going to be your target when you get out on the street? Is it going to be a white person or is it going to be a black person? Why, if you shot at a black person, at a black target in practice, then you're going to shoot at a black person in reality. It's just that simple. And so you can't deny the racism that permeates the police power. After all, what was the purpose of the origin of the police power in this country? Was it not to corral and control and protect and to serve the power structure, which was white at that time? The landed people who owned the slaves were white. They weren't black. There were a few black slaveholders, don't get me wrong, but they were not the majority. The people who made the laws and the people who made the rules and the people who ratified the Constitution of the United States, they were white, and most of them were slaveholders. And that was the origin of the police power in the United States. It was to corral, to control, and to reconnoiter, and I'm using another word that I can't quite get. In other words, they had to reconnoiter, control, and observe, and all of those type of words. The slave population, and that's where if a slave ran away, then who went and found him? Why, it was the police. Right? If that was an insurrection or an incident, who was going to control the slaves? But it was not. If every able-bodied white person, 18 to 45, was mandated by law to arm themselves and be ready at a moment's notice to come out and get these slaves back under control. It wasn't the British that they were looking for. No, it was the slaves that they were obsessed with keeping them under control and in slavery. So you cannot detach the police authority today from the origin of the police authority in the beginning of this nation, and even before. I'm speaking of the beginning of this nation. I'm speaking of 1776, but no, from the 1600, from 1619 onward, there had been this obsession with controlling the black body, and so that is why we have made the observation of the cruelty of the police on a black body, whereas Janelle Walker got shot 42 times, but he was running away and had no gun. But yet, a white man, a white boy, in that same municipality, shot and killed a police officer, but he was apprehended without incident. So Janelle Walker dead. White boy shoots a police officer. He gets apprehended. He is in jail. So you see the disparity, and now you know another reason why there is a disparity. It's historic, it's systemic. When you deal with historiography, you find out that is in the DNA of the police, and it goes all the way down to the theories of white supremacy that were permeating the United States, or circulating in the 13 colonies. Even then, 5 minutes. All right. even then. And so as it was then, so it is now. And when we say we're not like, that's not who we are. Yes, that's exactly who we are. We are exactly that. Let me read the scripture before I close out. Remember Ephesians 6th chapter, picking up the reading at verse number 11 and verse number 12, says, put on the whole armor of God. 11 and 12. There you go. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And you don't get no higher than the police power, because that's where everything else descends. The ruling authority have placed great emphasis on the police protecting them. That's who they protect and serve. They serve the ruling power. They protect the ruling power, whether it's the Carnegies or the Rockefellers or the Citicorps or the Goldman Sachs or the Bank of Americas or the Wells Fargo. It doesn't matter as long as those people are in charge. Then, of course, they tell the police, shoot first, ask questions later, or kill them all and let God sort them out. So it is. And so you have to arm yourself likewise, not to be deceived, not to be distracted by the person that might be on the television screen or that might be on the radio. Whoever that personality may be, that personality is only a representative. He's only an agent of the principalities, of the powers, of the rulers of the darkness of this world, of the spiritual wickedness in high places. You can't look at Donald Trump. You got to look at who is empowering Donald Trump. What is the power that is behind the throne, out of sight, out of camera range? Who are the rulers of the darkness of this world? And when you hear, as Dr. William Barber says, that 62 people have more wealth, 62 people, families, have more wealth, $97,000 an hour, but they are earning than the half of the people on the planet. They make more money per hour than half of the people on the planet. And you see the people on the planet trying to get water, trying to get food, and all of that type of thing. And it is appalling. And we must call these billionaires into account. And so, my friends, again, we have come to the end. You and I are still working, laboring. Try to get as much money for your labor as you can, because once you put your labor out there, you cannot get it back. And if hard work was all it took to get rich, every slave coming out of slavery would have been a millionaire. So if you're working on a job and they don't want to pay you, take Pastor Martin's advice. If they don't want to pay you, don't work for them. Thank you, Doc. We out of here.
Yeah, some sleepless nights. But when I look around, and nothing's been so bad. All my good days, all of my good days outweigh my bad days. Yes, they do. Outweigh my bad days. I just say thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. someday.